There have been several WWE storylines that have been absolutely generational. Storylines in professional wrestling have to be one of the most exciting and one of the most important things of the entire sport and the entire business. So when we talk about something such as the Bloodline story, the Bloodline storyline was one of the biggest things of the modern era, and some could say it's one of the greatest WWE storylines of all time. But did WWE do the best job of ending such a phenomenal story? Did they do it justice? Did it deserve more? Did it deserve to be ended sooner? We're going to be talking about this iconic and revolutionary storyline in the Bloodline story arc right in this video. We're going to give a list of my opinion on how WWE managed the end of the Bloodline and talk about the entire story in itself from the beginning of 2020 to 2025, where we currently are today. So as always, drop a comment, drop a like, and subscribe to the channel as we try and upload as consistent as possible on D Loves Wrestling. Let's waste no more time. Let's dive right into this. The Bloodline storyline. This has been going on for quite a few years. I think 5 years, I believe. And honestly, we can all say that the beginning of this was during one of the most hardest times in just the world. It was the pandemic era. And I think we can say, even though WWE was still going on, and it was one of the only sports that was going on during the pandemic was rough. I mean, I can't even watch back matches from that era because with no crowd and just, it's so weird. It's so weird without the fans in the crowd. But we can say that in some way, even despite how many people may feel about that entire era, it saved the pandemic era. I mean, I think without the Bloodline storyline, we could have maybe not have seen WWE television during that time. I feel like not too many great things were going on within the business at that time. Obviously, you know, they're kind of just trying their best to give entertainment throughout the world during such a hard time. But the Bloodline storyline started out in the roughest of times. I mean, Roman Reigns had his grandest turn during this pandemic era. And that's pretty crazy to think about. Imagine if that was in a stadium filled with people. No one got to witness one of the greatest generational character turns of all time. This led to Roman Reigns of what he is today. And it's pretty crazy to think about that it happened with no one in the crowd. So the Bloodline storyline definitely held it down in the very beginning when it first started, because it was in a weird point of time in the world and just in the WWE in general. And it also helped elevate during a time with no crowds, where the crowd helps get superstars over. This storyline helped elevate someone such as a Roman Reigns to what they are today, and a Jey Uso, who was really just viewed, and it was understandable at the time, where Jey Uso was viewed as just a tag team partner to Jimmy Uso. Now we see what the Bloodline storyline did to both of these superstars, Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. It developed Roman Reigns to be the tribal chief that we all know and love, and it made us believe in Jey Uso that he could potentially be a single star and just a star in general. He doesn't need to rely on his cousins or his brother or Paul Heyman. He doesn't need to rely on anyone. Jey Uso became his own individual star from this storyline. And it's something that honestly, we can go back and look and say, without the Bloodline storyline, we may have never gotten the tribal chief and also the right-hand man Jey Uso, and also the Yeet Jey Uso that we all, majority of people know and love today. And it created some of the biggest moments in the modern era because it was the most such easily to get invested into storyline of the modern era. You have Jimmy Uso standing up for Jey Uso when Roman Reigns just started to eventually become this mega manipulative narcissist. Jimmy Uso super kicking Roman Reigns. That was a huge moment. And the Jey Uso kick to Roman Reigns, that was insane because Jey made it believable that like he was still gonna stick with Roman Reigns. So that was a really cool moment. And then also obviously Sami Zayn was in the Bloodline storyline. Let's not forget about that with the Usi moment.
Lately he just hasn't been very Usi.
he's not so oosy. So many great moments that this storyline has also helped develop as well. But now that is all the things that I want to talk about of how great the Bloodline storyline was and how great it did for the superstars involved. But let's talk about the end of this Bloodline storyline. The end of it, was it just me? Did it feel forced? Did it feel like it didn't even really end on like Bloodline terms, if I'm saying that correctly? Like, it didn't end with an all-out brawl between all the Bloodline members, like not War Game stuff, because I'm not gonna lie, I gotta say this in this video, I feel like they brought back the OG Bloodline strictly just to have people buy tickets for War Games, because I felt like that was just a one and done, but they made it seem like it was going to be like we were gonna get a whole nother year of the OG Bloodline potentially. I don't know, maybe it was just me thinking it that way, but I just felt like it was so rushed, the ending of the Bloodline storyline. Like, the end of it was Roman just winning the Ula Fala back from Solo Sikoa on the Raw on Netflix, and then we got The Rock putting the Ula Fala on Roman Reigns? What does The Rock have to do with anything? I know, before you say anything, I know he's a part of the Bloodline, obviously, but he's not a part of the story of the Bloodline. And that wasn't the final boss Rock on the Raw on Netflix. That was Dwayne The Rock, that was Dwayne Johnson there. So if we're being real here in the wrestling world, that's not even a WWE superstar. That is Dwayne Johnson in the ring. So he's crowning Roman Reigns when he has no affiliation in this storyline whatsoever. Besides, like, when he came back for WrestleMania 40 and he was tagged along with Roman Reigns, Solo, Paul Heyman, and Jimmy Uso. The Rock has nothing to do with the Bloodline. Why is he involved with the end, the very last shot of the whole story where Roman beats Solo? And I feel so bad for Solo, but I'm going to dive right into that right after. But The Rock puts the Ula Fala on Roman, and then that's it. He gives him like this weird stare down to make me, I thought Rock was maybe gonna do something to Roman in the ring, but no, that was it. And then it was like never mentioned ever again, like about the Bloodline or Solo having a rematch against Roman Reigns. So weird. And this is where I talk about Solo Sikoa was the one guy who didn't benefit from the storyline itself. You know what he actually did benefit from? And it was actually when the storyline ended. Well, not when it ended, but when Roman Reigns left after WrestleMania 40. Solo Sikoa was main eventing SummerSlam. He was just in the main event scene, Solo. They were doing a great job with Solo. But then when Roman came back, then the War Games match happens, and I felt like that was just you know, have fans just buy for War Games to get the OG Bloodline one last time, even though I felt like they could have done something with it. I feel like they didn't utilize the OG versus New Bloodline enough. The one and done show, I don't really like that. I know they had that Crown Jewel match, but I don't know. I feel like they could have done a lot more between the two Bloodlines going at each other, maybe in singles competition and tag competition, not just in this one and for all one big brawl. I feel like they could have prolonged it a lot longer, because unlike a lot of people that were saying that this storyline needs to end, it should have ended like 2 years ago, I love the Bloodline storyline, I really do. But Solo Sikoa got put on the back burner when Roman Reigns came back, it seems like, because after Roman beat Solo for the Ula Fala, Solo's momentum went down in the dumpster. And I felt so bad because his character work was improved so much after WrestleMania 40. He was finally able to talk more. He was actually getting good matches and good storylines with Cody Rhodes. It was honestly one of Cody's best feuds during his championship run, if you ask me. But then when Roman comes back, he beats Solo. They had nothing for Solo. And then, like, they did a great job putting Jacob Fatu with Solo. But Jacob Fatu, he got so over Solo that, you know, even as I'm talking right now, like, Solo isn't, I don't know if they really got anything from him. It would be great if he wins this upcoming Money in the Bank, but I don't know. It just seems like Solo Sikoa, lack of creative for him, and he was the one, him and Jimmy Uso were left with really no plans of anything after the Bloodline storyline. Solo, it looked like he was going to, because they were doing great character work right after WrestleMania 40. But then when Roman came back, it seems like Solo's been in a major slump since the Raw on Netflix, where Solo lost to Ulafala, the Roman Reigns. And Jimmy Uso, I feel bad for Jimmy, man, because Jimmy, he can also be a great single star as well. But once again, there's no creative for him. Like, I don't know if they're just relying on Jay to maybe lose the title and then they have a one last tag team run and then Jimmy like retires after that. But like, he helped Jay elevate the storyline for WrestleMania 41 against Gunther. And then like, I don't know, it just seems like Jimmy has nothing to do with anything, with any character right now, let alone anything revolving the Bloodline or the new Bloodline. So it's sad to see that two characters in the Bloodline storyline felt like I got pushed away in all this. They didn't elevate these two guys throughout the Bloodline storyline. And obviously, I think Jimmy, during the middle of it, was highly elevated with Jay alongside him, and they had this monster tag team reign. Now, WWE is basically showing that without this storyline being involved with the family, Jimmy and Solo really got nothing going on if there is no involvement with the Bloodline, new Bloodline or OG Bloodline. But we do have to admit, guys, this is gotta be the greatest story of recent memory. This is honestly a whole freaking movie, if we're being honest here. 5 years worth of storytelling, and it was consistent throughout the entire 5 years, I feel like, until the very end of it, where I just recently talked about how I felt like it was kind of weird how it ended. It was kind of rushed, if you ask me, how it ended. It seemed like they just wanted to give Roman the Ulafala back and then let's never mention the Ulafala ever again, at least from when I'm currently filming this. I made a video earlier, I said it could be one of the greatest stories of all time. A lot of people gave me shit for it. I don't think it's a far stretch because look at what it did do. It created so many great moments. It made Roman Reigns to be literally considered one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. Now, you might not agree with that, but the fact that he's in the conversation because of a storyline such as this, it's got it, you know, and just like Jey Uso, it catapulted him to be one of the biggest stars in the company today. Honestly, right neck and neck up there with his cousin, Roman Reigns. And that's crazy to think about because Roman is considered to be one of the GOATs of professional wrestling or WWE. So I know I talked about how the ending was kind of but let's talk about how good this story was too and what it did do for superstars involved in the story, because it did great. It did great. Roman Reigns and Jey Uso, you know, it elevated them to a whole nother planet. And it was definitely awesome to see. It's awesome to see how great they're doing. And this is going to be a career milestone, this entire story within Jimmy Uso, Jey Uso, Roman, Solo Sikoa, Paul Heyman. Everyone is going to remember the Bloodline storyline for the end of time when it comes to looking back at professional wrestling story arcs. That is my take on the Bloodline storyline. Let me know how you feel about some of my takes here, especially about the ending of the Bloodline story. If you agree with it or disagree with it, let me know in the comments below. But I feel like I talked about the great in the storyline, what it gave to us, and also some of the bad, majority of the bad was, I feel like, just at the very end. I feel like they could have been so much more for such a fantastic story that lasted for 5 years. The way it ended, I feel like it was just, I feel like they just kind of like, yeah, we can end it now on a, you know, just with no anticipation really at all. But yeah, like I said, let me know down in the comments below if you agree with some of my takes or if you disagree. I would love to have a discussion down in the comments below. Drop a like as always and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for tuning into this video. And as always, I will see you in the next one.